Welcome back to Accreditation Unlocked. This is Dr. Ken Clough from the Accreditation Collaborative. As institutions settle into the ongoing work of the academic year, this felt like the right moment to pause. Not to recap episodes one by one, and not to preview what's next, but to reflect on what Season 2 was really about. Season 2 was intentionally designed as a leadership session. Not a season about checklists, not a season about compliance mechanisms, and not a season about reacting to accreditation pressure. Instead, episodes like Leading Accreditation Strategy for Continuous Improvement in Accreditation, or Executive Leadership Positioning Accreditation in the President's Cabinet, asked a deeper question. What changes when leaders stop treating accreditation as a task and start treating it as part of governance? This episode is about the leadership lessons that emerged across Season 2. Lessons shaped by decades of institutional work, but also sharpened by the conversations we've had this year about strategy, data, systems, and sustainability. Reframing Season 2, From Compliance to Leadership Practice. Season 2 is not about helping institutions do accreditation better in a technical sense. It was about understanding why accreditation functions so differently across institutions, even when they face the same standards, the same accreditors, and often the same constraints. Episodes such as The Leadership Blueprint for Continuous Improvement and Directing the Self-Study, Leadership Skills That Make All the Difference, made one thing clear. Accreditation outcomes are rarely technical failures. They are leadership signals. Throughout the season, we examined accreditation as a leadership responsibility, not an administrative burden, a strategic alignment issue, and not a documentation exercise, a use of strategic evidence, not just evidence collection, and a systems challenge, not a committee assignment. Season 2 is about making those signals visible, especially for leaders who may only encounter accreditation during moments of risk or review. Leadership Lesson Number 1. Accreditation mirrors leadership attention. One of the clearest lessons from Season 2 is that accreditation reflects leadership attention. In the episode Accreditation and Executive Leadership and Faculty at the Helm, we explored what happened when accreditation is either embedded into leadership conversations or pushed to the margins. When leaders are distant from accreditation, institutions tend to experience last-minute scrambles and over-reliance on a few individuals or compliance framed as disruption. But when leaders stay engaged, without micromanaging, the tone changes. Accreditation becomes anticipatory rather than reactive, integrated rather than episodic, and shared rather than siloed. In the episode Enhancing Accreditation Through Stakeholder Engagement, we talked about how leadership presence legitimizes the work. When presidents, provosts, and deans treat accreditation as part of stewardship, others follow suit. If accreditation feels reactive, leadership is too distant from it. Leadership doesn't mean doing the work. It means shaping the expectations under which the work unfolds. Leadership Lesson Number 2. Strategy is revealed through decisions, not documents. Season 2 repeatedly returned to the question of strategy, not as a plan, but as a behavior. Episodes like 5 Types of Strategic Management and What's the Difference Between a Strategy, a Goal, and a Task challenged a common institutional assumption that having a strategic plan is the same as being strategic. Accreditors don't evaluate plans in isolation. They evaluate consistency. They look for alignment between mission and academic programs, planning and uncertainty, and priorities and resource allocation. Strategy becomes visible not in polished language, but in trade-offs, especially when resources are constrained or decisions are difficult. Strategy isn't what survives consensus. It survives pressure. Accreditation simply makes those choices visible, and leadership determines whether those choices aligned with the stated direction. Leadership lesson number 3. Evidence gains power when leaders use it. Another leadership lesson threaded throughout Season 2 is that evidence matters only when it changes decisions. In episodes like Leading Through Data and Accreditation Dashboards, we explored why institutions often feel overwhelmed by data, yet underinformed by it. Most institutions already collect enough data. What they lack is a decision trail. Accreditors are not persuaded by dashboards alone. They want to see how evidence informs choices, how findings lead to action, and how leaders explain improvement over time. In the episode From Findings to Fixes, we emphasize that the most compelling evidence is not what's reported, but what's acted upon. When leaders routinely ask, "What did we learn? What did we change? Or what happened as a result?" evidence becomes part of institutional thinking rather than an accreditation defense. Leadership lesson number 4. Sustainable accreditation is designed, not willed. Perhaps the most consequential leadership lesson from Season 2 is that sustainability cannot depend on effort alone. Episodes such as integrating accreditation into performance reviews, or how to build a strong curriculum management framework, or beyond committees, governance and nursing programs, all pointed to the same reality. Effort-based accreditation is fragile. When accreditation lives in one strong ALO, or one committed dean, or one tireless committee, it collapses under turnover. In contrast, sustainable accreditation lives in systems, governance structures, curriculum management processes, performance expectations, and in documentation frameworks that survive personnel changes. As we discussed in the episode Keeping the Knowledge, continuity is not about retaining people, it's about designing systems that carry institutional memory forward. Sustainability is not a personality trait, it's an institutional design choice. What I hope this season changed for leaders. This is the heart of Season 2. If this season has done its work, I hope it has shifted how leaders see accreditation, not as a disruption, not as a burden, not as something to survive, but as a mirror. Across episodes like Why Institutions Struggle with Accreditation and Reflections on Change and Improvement, we returned again and again to the idea that accreditation reveals how institutions actually function, not how it hopes it does. Leadership engagement doesn't mean control. It means asking better questions, expecting alignment, creating space for reflection, and treating accreditation as stewardship. If Season 2 encouraged you to step closer, to see accreditation as part of leadership responsibility rather than administrative overhead, then it has done exactly what it was meant to do. Closing reflection. Carrying the leadership work forward. As we close Season 2, I want to leave you with this final thought. Accreditation does not improve institutions on its own. Leaders do, when they design systems that support people rather than exhaust them. Season 2 is about naming those leadership realities clearly and honestly. The real work happens between episodes, on campuses, in meetings, and through decisions that rarely make headlines. Well, thank you for spending this season with me, and for the leadership work that you do every day. This has been Dr. Ken Clough from the Accreditation Collaborative. Listen, follow, and comment on Accreditation Unlocked wherever you get your podcast. And I'll see you next time on Season 3 of Accreditation Unlocked.